Welcome back, everybody. Today we're diving into
Ooh, it's exciting.
yeah
I like it.
a pivotal period in Dutch history.
Okay.
We're talking about the years between 1302 and 1602.
Wow, big span of time.
Yeah, it's a big chunk.
300 years.
Yeah, 3 centuries.
A lot happened.
So imagine, bustling medieval cities,
Okay.
powerful trade networks, and the clash between,
Mhm.
those cities and the rulers who
Yeah,
were
yeah.
hungry for power.
I like it.
It's a period where we really see the seeds of a republic being sown.
Okay, cool.
We'll be using excerpts from educational materials focused on this era to really understand how these events unfolded.
Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating how much happened in those 300 years.
Yeah,
It really sets the stage for the Netherlands as we know it today.
for sure. Okay, so our journey begins in Bruges right around 1302.
Okay.
What was happening there that makes it such a crucial starting point?
Well, you have the Battle of the Golden Spurs,
Okay,
the Golden Sporen Slag.
I was going to ask you to say that.
Yeah.
Glad you did.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah, it is.
Happening right at the start of this period.
Okay.
It was a shocking victory for the commoners.
Commoners.
Yeah, we're talking artisans, farmers
Wow.
against the French nobility.
Okay.
And this wasn't just a battle.
Right.
It was a symbolic shift
Okay.
that paved the way for Bruges to become a major economic force.
So this underdog story really set the tone for the next few centuries.
Absolutely. Bruges was already strategically located at the crossroads of major trade routes.
Right.
But after this victory, they really leaned into their independence.
Okay.
They developed groundbreaking financial systems like early forms of insurance and credit that minimized risk for merchants.
Wow.
Word spread quickly, and Bruges became the place to be for trade in Europe.
Hmm.
We're talking English wool, fine Flemish cloth merchants from all over the continent
Wow.
converging on this one city.
It was the place to be.
It was the place to be.
So it sounds like it wasn't just about individual wealth.
Right.
The sources mention this concept of the bonum commune, the common good.
Yes.
How did that play out in Bruges?
You see it everywhere.
Oh.
They built canals and bridges, invested heavily in public infrastructure.
Okay.
They even took over social services from the church, providing for the poor and sick.
Wow.
Bruges was a thriving example of a city where economic success was directly linked to the well-being of its citizens.
Hmm.
It was a truly different approach to civic life than much of Europe at the time.
So a real success story.
Yeah, for sure.
But all this success, it's almost setting us up for a fall, right?
Yeah.
Because I know Bruges eventually loses its top spot.
Right.
What happened?
It's a classic case of disruption.
Okay.
While Bruges was flourishing, Antwerp, with its easier access to the European hinterland, was attracting merchants looking for new opportunities.
Okay.
They could handle larger ships, which became essential as trade volume grew.
Mm.
And remember how Bruges developed those innovative financial systems?
Yeah.
Well, Antwerp adopted and refined those systems, making them even more efficient.
Wow.
It's a prime example of how a new center of power can learn from and ultimately surpass its predecessor.
So it wasn't just competition, it was also a transfer of knowledge and innovation that led to Antwerp's rise.
Exactly.
Were there any other factors at play here?
Well, this is where politics enters the picture.
Oh.
The Burgundian dukes who ruled over the Low Countries were pushing for centralized power.
Okay.
And that directly clashed with the independent cities like Bruges.
Ah, so we have this classic tension between the established powers and these ambitious rulers who want to create a more unified state.
Exactly. Bruges, used to running its own affairs, resisted this centralized control.
Oh.
But when the Burgundian dynasty fell in 1477, their lands passed to the Habsburgs.
Habsburg.
The Habsburgs.
Okay.
And they were even more determined to consolidate their power.
Right.
And they saw Antwerp as a key player in their plans.
So did Antwerp just become a pawn in this larger power struggle?
In a way, yes.
Okay.
Emperor Maximilian, a Habsburg, actively favored Antwerp, directing merchants there after a conflict with Bruges.
Mm-hmm.
This move, combined with Antwerp's already growing advantages, effectively sealed Bruges' fate.
Wow. Yeah.
And so Antwerp takes center stage. By 1500, it's the trading hub of Europe.
More than that, it's this incredibly diverse and dynamic city.
Okay.
You have merchants from all over Europe, and with the rise of Spanish and Portuguese colonial ventures,
Right.
Antwerp becomes a vital hub for exotic goods like sugar and spices.
Wow.
It was a melting pot of cultures and commerce, a testament to the power of trade and the entrepreneurial spirit of its people.
It sounds almost like a Renaissance city bustling with new ideas and energy.
Yeah.
But I can't help but think about those Habsburg rulers lurking in the background.
Hmm.
They were still pushing for central control.
Yes, and this is where the seeds of rebellion start to sprout.
Okay.
Remember, the Habsburgs were staunch Catholics,
Right.
but a new religious movement was sweeping through Europe, primarily in the cities, Protestantism.
Okay.
The Netherlands was no exception. So you have this brewing storm of resentment, economic tensions, and religious conflict, all under the watchful eye of the Habsburg emperors.
Right.
This can't end well, can it?
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
In 1550, Charles V, the Habsburg ruler, issued a decree called the Bloodplakat,
Blodplakat.
which called for the death penalty for heretics.
Wow.
It highlights the growing religious tensions in the region and foreshadows the violence to come.
And that violence, is it the Beeldenstorm we're talking about?
Exactly. In 1566, Protestant mobs fueled by years of persecution and economic hardship erupted in a frenzy of iconoclasm.
Wow.
They destroy religious images in Catholic churches across the Low Countries.
Wow.
It was a direct challenge to Habsburg rule, both religious and political.
Right.
And it marked a turning point towards open rebellion.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Beeldenstorm was like a crack in the dam,
Oh, wow.
and it unleashed a flood of unrest.
Okay.
Philip II, the son of Charles V, sent the Duke of Alva to quell the rebellion.
Okay.
But Alva's brutal tactics.
Brutal.
Yeah, mass executions, confiscations. Wow.
Only fueled the resistance further.
It seems like those in power often make the mistake of thinking they can crush dissent with force,
Right.
not realizing they're actually just fanning the flames.
Yeah, it's a recurring theme throughout history, isn't it?
Yeah.
And in the Netherlands, this heavy-handed response led to the emergence of a new leader, William of Orange.
William of Orange.
Yeah, he rallied the Dutch provinces against Spanish rule, uniting them under a common cause.
So we're really starting to see the beginnings of the Dutch Republic taking shape here.
Yeah,
But what about Antwerp?
right.
It was this thriving center of trade, but also a Catholic stronghold.
Yeah.
How did it fare during the revolt?
Antwerp was in a precarious position.
Yeah.
Despite its wealth and influence, the city was deeply divided along religious lines. Remember, it had attracted merchants from all over Europe, including many Protestants.
Right.
This made it a target for both sides.
So even in this incredibly diverse and cosmopolitan city, religious tensions couldn't be escaped?
Unfortunately not.
Yeah. And in 1585, despite its strong defenses, Antwerp fell to Spanish forces.
Wow.
It was a devastating blow to the city, and it marked a major turning point in the Dutch revolt.
Yeah, I imagine this caused quite a ripple effect throughout the region.
Uh-huh.
What happened to all those merchants, artisans, and families who had called Antwerp home?
Many fled north, seeking refuge in cities like Amsterdam, which had firmly sided with the rebellion.
Right.
Amsterdam was already a rising power thanks to its strategic location and its growing grain trade.
Right.
But the influx of Antwerp's skilled workforce and financial capital gave it a significant boost.
So it's almost as if Antwerp's loss became Amsterdam's gain.
Exactly.
And then just a few years later, in 1588, the Dutch Republic officially declares its independence from Spain.
It was a culmination of decades of struggle, sacrifice, and shifting power dynamics.
Wow.
The Dutch Republic's success wasn't just about military victories.
Right.
It was also about the resilience of its people, their willingness to adapt and innovate, and their commitment to self-governance.
And this newfound independence sets the stage for what often called the Dutch Golden Age, right?
Yes.
A period of incredible economic and cultural flourishing.
Exactly.
But what exactly made this era so golden?
Well, for one thing, the Dutch had a knack for seizing opportunities.
Okay.
They were masters of shipbuilding, finance, and trade, and they weren't afraid to take risks. The founding of the Dutch East India Company, the VOC, in 1602 is a prime example of this.
The VOC.
Yeah.
That's the one that basically transformed the Netherlands into a global superpower. Right.
Exactly.
Sending ships all over the world, bringing back exotic goods and amassing incredible wealth.
Precisely. The VOC was a game changer.
Yeah.
It brought back spices, porcelain textiles, and other luxury goods from Asia, which were in high demand throughout Europe.
Right.
This trade fueled unprecedented economic growth in the Dutch Republic. But the Golden Age wasn't just about material wealth.
Right.
It was also a time of extraordinary artistic, scientific, and intellectual achievement.
Ah, yes, the Dutch masters.
Yes.
Rembrandt, Vermeer. Those incredibly detailed and evocative paintings that capture a moment in time so perfectly.
Beautiful.
What were the factors that led to this cultural explosion alongside the economic boom?
The Dutch Republic was a relatively tolerant and open society,
Okay.
which attracted talented individuals from all over Europe. They had a decentralized government that gave cities and regions a significant amount of autonomy,
Okay.
which fostered competition and innovation.
Right.
This atmosphere of freedom and intellectual curiosity created fertile ground for artists, scientists, and thinkers to thrive.
So it was not just about being wealthy, it was about creating an environment where creativity and new ideas could flourish.
Exactly. Think about it.
Yeah.
The Dutch were challenging long-held scientific beliefs, exploring new artistic techniques, and debating philosophical concepts that would shape Western thought for centuries.
Wow.
It was a truly remarkable period.
Yeah.
But as with any golden age, it wasn't without its challenges.
Right. No era is perfect. What were some of the cracks beneath the surface of this seemingly idyllic period?
Well, for one thing, the Dutch Republic's wealth was built on trade,
Okay.
which is inherently vulnerable to disruption,
Right.
wars, competition from other European powers, and changing global markets all pose threats to Dutch prosperity.
So even in this golden age, there was a sense of precariousness, of constantly needing to adapt and stay ahead of the curve.
Absolutely. And as the 17th century wore on, the Dutch faced increasing competition from rivals like England and France,
Right.
both vying for global dominance.
Yeah.
This led to a series of costly wars that drained Dutch resources and weakened their position on the world stage. Sound familiar?
It does.
Yeah.
It seems like history often repeats itself.
Yeah.
We saw how Bruges was overtaken by Antwerp, and now the Dutch Republic is facing similar challenges from these rising powers.
It's a reminder that power is constantly shifting.
Yeah.
No nation, no city, no empire can remain at the top forever. And this brings us to a crucial question. What can we learn from the Dutch experience, from their rise to prominence and their eventual decline?
That's a great point. Looking back on these 300 years, from the Battle of the Golden Spurs to the founding of the VOC,
Yeah.
what are the key takeaways that resonate with you? What stands out as particularly important or insightful?
Well, for me, it's the reminder that progress isn't linear.
Okay.
It's a complex interplay of economic forces, political ambitions, religious beliefs, and individual choices.
Right.
The Dutch story is a testament to the power of innovation, adaptability, and a commitment to the common good. But it also highlights the importance of being aware of the forces that can undermine success,
Right.
from internal divisions to external
So
pressures.
it's like a delicate dance, finding that balance between progress and stability, between individual ambition and collective responsibility.
Yeah.
And it seems like the Dutch, at least for a time, managed to strike that balance better than most.
You know, it makes me think about the educational materials we've been using as sources.
Yeah. They highlight how even back in Bruges,
Mm.
there was this focus on practical skills
Right.
and education for the common people.
Ah.
They were shifting away from the traditional emphasis on Latin
Yeah.
and religious instruction.
Interesting.
Could that have played a role in the Dutch Golden Age centuries later?
It's an interesting connection. By emphasizing practical skills like arithmetic
Okay.
and using the vernacular language,
Right.
Bruges fostered a more engaged and informed citizenry.
Okay.
This approach to education may have planted the seeds for the intellectual curiosity and innovation that blossomed during the Golden Age.
So it wasn't just about trade routes and economic policies.
Right.
It was also about creating a society that valued knowledge and critical thinking.
Precisely. The Dutch Republic building on those early foundations became a haven for thinkers, artists, and scientists from across Europe.
Wow.
They weren't afraid to challenge established norms to push the boundaries of what was known and accepted. This spirit of inquiry fueled their remarkable achievements in art, science, philosophy, and commerce.
And that spirit of inquiry, it seems like it's something we can all tap into,
Yeah,
regardless of our background or profession.
absolutely.
It's about being curious, asking questions, and constantly seeking new knowledge and understanding.
Absolutely. The Dutch example shows us that a culture that embraces learning and innovation can achieve extraordinary things.
Yeah.
It's a powerful reminder that education isn't just about memorizing facts.
Right.
It's about cultivating a mindset that values critical thinking, problem solving, and a willingness to embrace new ideas.
It's almost as if the Dutch Golden Age, despite its eventual decline, left behind a legacy that extends far beyond material wealth or political power.
Yeah.
It's a legacy of intellectual and cultural vibrancy that continues to inspire us today.
And it challenges us to think about how we can foster that same spirit of innovation and openness in our own societies. How can we create environments where creativity can flourish, where diverse perspectives are valued, and where the pursuit of knowledge is seen as a lifelong endeavor?
This deep dive has been a fascinating journey through a pivotal period in Dutch history.
Yeah, it has.
We've witnessed the rise and fall of cities,
Yeah.
the clash of empires, the birth of a republic, and the enduring legacy of a people who dared to dream big and challenge the status quo.
It's a story that reminds us that history is never just a collection of dates and events.
Right.
It's a complex tapestry woven with human choices, ambitions, and ideals.
Yeah.
And by studying the past, we can gain valuable insights into the challenges and opportunities of our own time.
So as we wrap up this exploration of Dutch history, what's one final thought-provoking question that our listeners can ponder?
Okay.
Something that connects those events of the past to the world we live in today.
How about this? Knowing what we've learned about the Dutch Republic and its eventual decline, what steps can we take to ensure that the values of innovation, tolerance, and freedom continue to flourish in our own societies?
How can we learn from both their triumphs and their setbacks to create a more just equitable and prosperous future?
That's a great question to leave our listeners with.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that history isn't just about the past, it's about understanding the forces that shape our present and have the power to shape our future.
For sure.
So
Well.
that wraps up our deep dive into Dutch history.
Yeah, thanks for listening, everybody.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.